Today felt like it would be cute bandana day because I need more rainbows because, I don't have enough rainbows all around here already. So last week I went to WordCamp Atlanta. I was in town for about 4 days, and the weather up there was amazing compared to Florida. And the conference itself was really great too. It was smaller than it's been in years past, and it was actually up in Marietta, Kennesaw State University. I gave a presentation on the indie web and WordPress, and I also saw a lot of good presentations and had some good conversations while I was there. I think some of my favorites were watching my friend Alexis give a talk about transitioning through WordPress, and I also really enjoyed a presentation by Rachel Winchester Wynn about using websites as your slides instead of slide decks, which I already put all of my slides on my website, but I really like the way that she showed other ways that you can do so, and I think I'm going to start incorporating that for new presentations. I also watched a couple of business presentations. I saw a presentation about building WordPress blocks, which I'm doing for a project that I'm currently working on. And I accidentally ended up at the Happiness Bar, which, if you've never been to a WordCamp, there's usually a place set up where people who have questions about WordPress can come and get help. And I just sat down at a random table to check email and stuff, and then somebody was like, "Is this a Happiness Bar?" And I was like, "Well, it can be." And because I used to do once or twice a month meetups where you just help people with their WordPress sites, because the questions that people have sometimes are things like with the questions that I got yesterday, they were things that I could solve right there, and give somebody some real tangible help, because a lot of times it's something that, they couldn't figure out how to do on their own or didn't know was possible to do. And it's something I'm like, oh yeah, I've done that, plenty of times. That's not always the case, but it's a good reminder for me that sometimes, the things that we know, we don't realize how valuable those can be for other people, which is why I always recommend other people attend these events and share information with others, because if you've done something once, you already know more than the people who've not done it before, even if you don't feel super confident on it. So I send out a weekly newsletter. You can find it at my website, david.garden/newsletter. And on my weekly newsletter, I usually have like a brief intro, and then I talk about some of the things that I read that week that I want to share, some of the things that I've watched that week that I want to share, and some of the things that I've listened to that I want to share that week. And I figured I was going to try today to see if I can nail down a format for these vlogs to share those same things here, which also means I'm going to learn how to put text on the screen here. So hopefully that works out well. So the first thing that I want to talk about is things that I've read this week that I want to share, and I tried to go for a specific theme this week, which is making things on the web, which is what I do for a living, but also not just making, but how we can better approach being on the internet and being on the web, and how to make that work better for us. So the first thing is a conversation between OK Fox and Charlie Markbrighter for the New Inquiry. It's called Alienated Nerds. The interview is about a lot of things. It's about zine culture, it's about comic cons, it's about the furry fandom, but overall it's about how people express themselves on the web and are able to express themselves differently and with different identities than they do in real life. The second article is Why the Internet Isn't Fun Anymore by Kyle Shaka for The New Yorker. If you've been online lately, you've probably noticed that most social networks have a lot of problems, and more of them have been coming to a head lately, not necessarily because the problems themselves have gotten worse, but because the networks have realized that, especially with things like, with changes in Twitter and Reddit, that it's getting unsustainable. Next up is an article called Something is Wrong on the Internet. I found this from someone named Shade on Co-Host. One of my partners linked me to it. This is somebody who's doing kind of like a deep dive investigation about a lot of mysterious profiles that were being set up on a lot of furry art and news websites. That looked like they were being done programmatically, but also looked like they were potentially having real people involved. The next one is How to Fix the Internet by Katie Notopoulos for Technology Review. So this article is a little bit more hands-on approachable. It's some ideas that we as individuals and technology companies, as well as regulators, can do to change the way that we connect to the internet. And then the final one for this category is an article called "The Web is for User Agency" by Robin Bergeon. If I pronounced any of these wrong, sorry. This is part of a series that Robin is working on, talking about how the web is and how the web can be made better. Now, I do have one more article in my things I read this week, which is just a thing from Kotaku last week called "Nintendo Reveals Bowser Likes Him Thick," because I wanted to end on something fun, which was the little video ad that Nintendo put out for the new Super Mario game. And they've already made several jokes about this, and I don't know, I like it. It's funny. It's kind of wholesome considering they know what the internet's like. Up next, I have a section of my newsletter, which are things that I've watched this week that I want to share. The first one is an interview with Dr. Devin Price called "Small Talk is Good, Actually." And the video essay and interview is basically about the use of small talk in society, and why it can be challenging for a lot of people. Dr. Devin Price was brought in because they've written books about autism and neurodivergence, and for neurodivergent people, small talk can be challenging. The next video is the new Philosophy Tube episode. Here's what ethical AI really means. It is an examination of AI, what AI means, and basically, what it means nowadays as marketing and buzzword, and if there's any way to make AI ethical. The next video is How Two People Created Gaming's Most Complex Simulation System. It's just a deep dive into the history of Dwarf Fortress. There's a lot that I didn't know about this game, and it's really interesting to be able to, listen to people talk about their passion for something and how they want that passion and things that they care about to be more important than just, making a paycheck. Up next is a video called "I Investigated Abandoned Animatronics." I mainly watched this one because I subscribed to the channel for some of their deep dive videos, and when they were talking about Rockafire explosion, I was thinking about a literal explosion that took place in downtown Orlando while I lived there, and that's when I learned that the creator of those animatronic bands, like that you would see at Chuck E. Cheese and stuff, has his workshop in downtown Orlando, and had a issue back in 2013 with an explosion that you can find about online. I watched this really cool animated horror story called The Worm. I really like the pacing of it. I really like the animation style and the story itself, and I thought it was good for spoopy season. And then finally, I have this video called "The Incel to Trans Pipeline" and "Inside Mari." Now, I haven't read the manga Inside Mari, but I understand the type of alienation and feeling not right in your body that they discuss there. And the final section is things that I've listened to this week. I'm a big fan of Tom Cardy, and he does comedy music, and I always thought, he should do some collabs with other comedy musicians. So the first one is "Beautiful Mind," which is Tom Cardy and Brian David Gilbert, who also does comedy music. And then the second one is "Santa Monica Boulevard," Brian Wecht from Ninja Sex Party, doing a straightforward jazz album. The next is a podcast episode of "There Are No Girls on the Internet." The episode is titled "AI is Built by People. We Need to Listen to Their Stories." I feel like the title is pretty self-explanatory, but the host, Bridget Todd, interviews several people involved in the creation of AI to talk about the people who make it, the people who use it, how they get data, who it affects positively and negatively, and why we need to center people first when we're talking about these, because more often than not, AI is just code for people making big computer systems. And the final episode is the last week's episode of Underrepresented in Tech podcast, which is by friends Michelle and Allie. They have an episode called "Believing Underrepresented People." Again, title is self-explanatory. The first step that you should have is when somebody underrepresented tells you that there's an issue, and that it relates to their marginalization and their representation. You should probably listen to them because they probably know a bit more about it than you do. And yeah, I think we could all do with a bit more empathy and do a bit more with starting by listening to others before jumping in on our own. I've been doing moderation on the internet and in person for, well over a decade now, and it's never going to get easier because it's always going to be people. Even if you're being mediated by computers, it's really always people at the end of the day. You're not talking to a faceless, nameless profile online, but you're talking to an actual other person. Like I said, I'm trying a new format, but it also feels that it could be a little stilted, I'm worried. So I want to put this out there, see how y'all feel about it. Let me know if there's any of these things that I shared that you really liked, or if there's any that you disliked. Let me know if you like this format, or if you want to try something different. I'm really trying to find a way to express the things that I'm doing and working on, and connect a bit better while I'm working on them. That's it. If you made it this far, thanks for watching. I'll see you next week.